9 Historical Misconceptions. Don't believe everything you read in the history books. Many events that for centuries have been passed down as true have eventually been proven false. Some were originally based on fact, but all became twisted and embellished as they were told and retold like a game of telephone. None of the following really happened. Trust us. Would we lie to you? Number 1. Ben Franklin discovered electricity. Benjamin Franklin did not discover electricity when his kite was struck by lightning in 1752. In fact, electricity was already well known at the time. Instead, Franklin was trying to prove the electrical nature of lightning. Had the kite been struck by lightning, Franklin would likely have been killed, as was Professor George Wilhelm Richman of St. Petersburg, Russia, when he attempted the same experiment a few months later. Number 2. The Great Wall of China is visible from the moon. You can see a lot of things while standing on the moon, but the Great Wall of China isn't one of them. In his 1938 publication, Second Book of Marvels, Richard Halliburton stated that the Great Wall was the only human-made object visible from the moon. However, the Great Wall is only a maximum of 30 feet wide and is about the same color as its surroundings, so it's barely visible to the naked eye while orbiting Earth under ideal conditions, much less from the moon, which is about 239,000 miles away. Number 3. Let them eat cake. She probably said a lot of things she later regretted, but Marie Antoinette never suggested hungry French mothers who had no bread should eat cake. When Jean-Jacques Rousseau was writing his Confessions in 1766, he quoted the famous saying of a great princess, which was incorrectly attributed to Marie Antoinette, Queen of France and wife of Louis XVI. But Marie Antoinette couldn't have made the statement because in 1766 she was only 11 years old. Number 4. Witches were burned at the stake in Salem. Although there really were witch trials in Salem, Massachusetts in 1692, and 20 people were put to death, none of the accused were burned at the stake. Hanging was the method of execution. Moreover, there's no evidence these people were practicing witchcraft or were possessed by the devil. Historians now believe that they, along with the townspeople who persecuted them, were suffering from mass hysteria, or afflicted with a physical illness, possibly even hallucinating after eating tainted rye bread. Number 5. Cinderella wore glass slippers. Ask anyone and they'll tell you that Cinderella wore glass slippers to the ball, but historians say that part of the legend isn't true. More than 500 versions of the classic fairy tale exist, dating back as far as the 9th century. In each account, Cinderella has a magic ring or magic slippers made of gold, silver, or some other rare metal, which are sometimes covered with gems, but are never made of glass. Number 6. The forbidden fruit. Both the apple and Eve get an undeserved bad rap in the story of paradise. According to the book of Genesis, Adam and Eve were evicted from paradise for eating the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden. There's no mention of any apple. Some biblical scholars think it was a fig, since Adam and Eve dressed in fig leaves, while Muslim scholars think it may have been wheat or possibly grapes. Number 7. Nero fiddled while Rome burned. When asked who fiddled while Rome burned, the answer Nero will get you a 0. Legend has it that in AD 64, Mad Emperor Nero started a fire near the imperial palace and then climbed to the top of the tower of Maecenas, where he played his fiddle, sang arias, and watched Rome flame out. But according to Tacitus, a historian of the time, Nero was 30 miles away at his villa in Antium when the fire broke out. Number 8. Sir Walter Raleigh's cloak. The story goes that Sir Walter Raleigh laid his cloak over a mud puddle to keep Queen Elizabeth I from getting her feet wet. Raleigh did catch the Queen's attention in 1581 when he urged England to conquer Ireland. However, An illicit affair with one of the Queen's maids of honor in 1592 did him in. He was imprisoned in the Tower of London and ultimately beheaded for treachery. The story of the cloak and the mud puddle probably originated with historian Thomas Fuller, who was known for embellishing facts. Number 9. Lady Godiva's Naked Ride. Godiva was a real person who lived in the 11th century, and she really did plead with her ruthless husband, Leofric, the Earl of Mercia, to reduce taxes. But no records of the time mention her famous ride. The first reference to her naked ride doesn't appear until around 1236, nearly 200 years after her death.